Gary, I sense we're not over talking about, expenses and revenues. And you've done some research with other communities to get some comparative data. Do you also have their expense side of the picture?
We did not, because there's such a huge difference between their operations and ours. We have done some research as to how many employees that they have and how many operational enforcement people that they have. And again, we're down at the lower end. A lot of the other towns have 6 to 9 employees in their division, so their budgets are definitely higher than what ours are. But I can't get that information. We have developed a networking with all of these parking divisions to be able to get that information.
I think it'd be helpful as discussion, because we always get Portsmouth thrown up in our face, and it's not a true comparison unless you can actually look at all the nickels and dimes.
Right, and again, excuse me, Mr. Chair, Portsmouth's a little bit different. They have a separate parking division, and enforcement falls under police, so there's actually 2 budgets to go along with that process.
More confusing.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said you were done.
Well,
Yes, sir.
I did, but the city managers spoke, and I just wanted to ask a question. What we're talking about here is, funding existing parking structures and facilities and maintenance and such like that. And I asked a question earlier, and it was told that the money here is just for the maintenance thing. So anything in the future is speculative, and we'd be talking about other ways to fund other structures, such as money from the TIF district and such like that. So we're not talking about using money here in this budget to actually for capital improvement. Is that right?
Depending upon the source, Mr. Chairman, if the source of any portion of the revenue was eligible for capital improvements, then certainly it could be considered as a portion of the cost. In other words, if it came from tax increment and it's set aside from tax increment, then it could be used for any legitimate purpose that the tax increment was created to.
But I mean, this budget here, this projection, the rate increase on rates and such like that is to go for the maintenance of existing structures and
Yes.
et cetera like that, and anything that we might consider in the future would have other funding sources that we have to talk about.
Yes, I believe that's what, if I understand the question, yes, I believe that's accurate, and I will ask Steve Thornton to weigh in if I'm not correct here.
I would just say this, that within these figures are capital items to the extent that they're included in our CIP right now, which are items which we call capital items, but they're really maintenance items. But there's nothing for new structures or
And we'll talk about that later.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. Anything further?
Informational.
Except as informational.
Move to accept this revenue report as informational.
We have a motion that's been seconded. Anything further? Committee, public, all in favor? We have 5-0. Thank you. The final item on our agenda this evening, we've been presented with a petition.
Chairman, so will we, I'm sorry, are you recognizing?
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at, during the budget process then, some combination of these possibilities to talk with you about. So by accepting that here's information this evening, you're not giving us any particular direction, I understand that. So I think the staff will be looking at for some direction later on than during the budget process. Is that how you see it?
Or perhaps the next FOP meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think the thought and intention was just to digest what's been presented.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, final item, we have a petition presented by James Cleaveland, 643 signatures opposed to the proposed parking rate increases. Very briefly reading the heading on this, read the undersigned downtown shoppers and workers of Keene oppose the proposed parking rate increases. Vastly increasing the rates and doubling the fines for parking will discourage us from shopping and working downtown and will make the downtown less viable. And we can given one page, but I'm sure that the remaining 600 was indeed presented.
And I might have undercounted too.
Second.
I didn't-
What is
Some.
Kris is submitted.
Highly suspect. Highly suspect.
Whether it's 600 or 649 or whatever, I think it stays
Yeah,
the same case.
It's probably 6:45, somewhere around there.
Whatever, that's good.
I guess real quick, I'll try to keep it brief, but, you know, I was kind of doing this with a few other folks. We had a few downtown businesses put petitions in. You know, I was doing it like 30 minutes a day for probably 2 weeks. And I had no problem collecting signatures. I mean, parking is by far the least popular service provided by the city. And, I mean, I can count on like one hand how many people didn't want to sign it and wanted the rate increases. I mean, it was very few people. Look, you know, there were a couple people who had places to go or whatever, so, you know, I didn't really get their signature, but I'd probably say conservatively, at least 85% of the people I asked, if they had the time for me, they would sign it, and like the other 15% were just too busy, so.
All right.
Are there any questions or?
Questions, committee? Okay, well, thank you for your efforts. Motion, please?
Move to accept the petitions informational. Second.
Anything further on the motion that's been made and seconded?
I'd only say that I'd use this information just like any other that we've seen and heard tonight when we make a decision on which version that we're going to advise the parking commission, the parking department to go with.
Anything further before we vote? All in favor? We are unanimous. I thank the public that came, the councilors that came, the city staff that was here.
I believe that there's something more on more time that give her betting. We have more time next time. Can we do more time now and ask for it to be brought before the next?
We'll consult the city manager, pretty likely